Women as leaders of change. Ooh. Can I join this?
If you, it's about identity. How do you identify? So
Yeah,
maybe
now-
we don't want to go there.
Okay,
But if you start
okay.
self-identifying,
Let me
maybe
put
we'll
the
find you a.
brush first, then, if I put the brush, maybe.
You
change?
fit in. You
Yes.
fit in.
So what's this about? What are you
Well,
guys
it's
want to
about
talk
the
about?
future. As you can see, there are more and more women. We're about to take over.
Okay.
So we're giving you a little heads up what's about to come in the.
I cannot answer this question anymore. Please go ahead, Evelyn.
Okay, so starting from that side, we have Gomolemo Lolo Madikgetla, who's the chairman of board of directors at the Botswana Investment and Trade Center. Hello.
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
This is something you're one lesson of cultural knowledge. This is something you don't want to ask from an Estonian unless you really want to have a lengthy explanation. But I'm ignoring it so, to give the others opportunity as well. And Aunapuu, the CEO and founder of the most popular second-hand marketplace in Estonia and South Africa. So 2 important markets. And as was announced, the panel is, or non-panel, a fireside with an imaginary fire here, is titled Women as Leaders of Change. And so with the 2 leaders here, for a start, could you share a bit about your journey to leadership and what inspired you to pursue this path you're on now? So let's start from Lolo.
Thank you very much. I would really start by sharing that the leadership journey for me as a woman started by me observing the very woman that raised me, which was my mother. She was a healthcare worker. She passed on in November. May her soul rest in peace. And outside of professional work, there was a lot of invisible care work. And this has formed an important component to the type of work that I do and the intentionality towards the work that women do on the professional stages, in their personal lives, inculcating their societies, particularly the African context. So that, for me, was my starting point in terms of my leadership. It has evolved. I've worked in male-dominated industries, such as diamond mining. I've worked in the financial services sector. But the 360 is that I'm back at the heart of care. Care by looking at human capital as infrastructure.
So taking care to a larger scale, from domestic to business.
I say this because I'm in the space of leadership. And when you speak about a woman as a leader, in my context, you cannot divorce the reality of the responsibilities of care, of obligations, of extended family. Someone once said, women run economies and they run errands, usually at the same time.
Okay, Aune.
Yes. I'm going to start with a brief explanation what YAGA is, a little bit more. Like Evelyn said, it's a person-to-person marketplace for buying and selling second-hand fashion. We first piloted in Estonia in already 2017, almost a decade ago. And then we launched in South Africa, which is not the most obvious path from Estonian company to enter South Africa, but that's another long story. But currently we are into 2 million users, more than 55 million euros worth of second-hand items sold annually. And to date, more than 8 million items have been sold already. So our mission is to contribute to more sustainable future of fashion. I didn't start YAGA because I wanted to be a leader. I started YAGA because I had a problem. I was a stay-at-home mom with 2 very small kids at the time, and I wanted to sell my kids' stroller. and I attempted to sell it in Facebook Marketplace. And if any of you, I believe you have tried to sell anything on Facebook Marketplace, you know that the experience is full of hassle, it's unsafe, there's a lot of scam. It's not the e-commerce like experience we're now used to seeing. And that was basically the moment when the idea of YAGA was born. And I'm not checking my social media. I have a few notes here.
Maybe something on sale?
Something on sale, yeah, notification. Yes, but now, almost 9 years later, 2 million users later, the leadership part for me came from staying long enough in the game to learn it. I wasn't an entrepreneur before. I just wanted to solve a problem, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that actually I didn't know what I was doing. So I just swam into this, jumped into the ocean and starting from my own frustration, and up to this day, I don't have everything figured out, and that's actually okay. Many founders don't. So it's the leadership is for me about staying in the journey long enough to learn.
Lolo, you didn't specify. Did you intend to become a leader, or was it just something something that happened, like it seemed to have happened to Aune?
Are you asking me if I intend?
If you had this career plan that you want to make it there, you started with diamonds, as I understand, and then just moved further. Which doesn't mean that I think that diamonds is the simplest way to start. Just to make sure.
A real growth is messy, it's ugly, it's painful, but it's necessary. And I would say my growth or my journey in leadership was not very straight, right? Was not very smooth and was not always intentional. I've always wanted to lead in some capacity. But it is, as you evolve, the more you see, the more you can unsee. And the more compelled you are to do something about that which you come across through data or through lived experience, you are able to solve from a different posture. So certain things that would not have been my priority. But because I've gone through them, I look at it much, much more differently. And case in point would be, I went into my entrepreneurship journey 7 years ago, right? Prior to that, I was in corporate and investment banking. And this was because I wanted to really delve into working with people, in particular women and youth in Africa and the diaspora. While on the journey, actually 11 months into that journey, I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, my plan did not include dealing with a terminal disease, and it was an aggressive cancer. And it dismantled the sweet, beautiful plan I had, but it brought me closer to reality of what happens in terms of startups, women on the ground. I was so happy as I met a woman here. I last saw her in Dar es Salaam when the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement was being discussed, particularly for women. So because you've experienced different things, now there are other unintended consequences, there are other opportunities. So real growth is not linear. You don't say today, I'm going to be a leader in 5 years, but it has worked very well thus far.
So you just start moving and you see whether others follow.
You should have a plan. It's very important, which is why mentorship, sponsorship, and coaching are critical. And I really encourage that for women in the continent. It is important, but always open yourself up to being disrupted. Open yourself up to being interrupted and embrace change.
Think mentorship is more important for women than men, or is it?
I think it's important. It's important because real mentorship, real coaching. It's not always textbook work. Sometimes it is somebody showing you their scars to say, this is what I went through. I advise you to consider looking at life in this manner, right? And when you learn from other people, when you learn, and you need to choose to be curious. You need to choose. Even when you have mentors, you're going to feel dismally. But the posture with which you get up, your resilience, your bounce back, is incomparable.
Aune, you crossed from Estonia to South Africa. How did that happen? And did you ever think that on that path, has your gender ever been a bonus factor or an impediment, or has it even mattered?
I think it hasn't mattered, starting from the last side of a question. I'm just a founder who happens to be a woman. But the path from Estonia to South Africa, I operate with YAGA in a second-hand fashion marketplace, and we do have big global competitors. And when we launched, we knew from day one that building a consumer marketplace is going to be expensive. It needs a lot of investment, and the size of Estonian market would never justify the investment. So we were looking or thinking globally from day one. As at the same time, big competitors, well-funded competitors in Europe were growing. We understood that, okay, we cannot compete with them. And in a way, we were looking for blue ocean opportunities where we could be the first movers. And this, strategically and very logically, made us think about Africa as a continent and what are the opportunities there. Big markets, large populations, high e-commerce growth rates, and particularly YAGA, what was crucial was the development level of delivery infrastructure and payment infrastructure. YAGA cannot work if there's cash-only payments, for example. So there has to be some digital options in terms of payments. So doing our market research, and also I actually was in South Africa at that time when we were selecting the market. It was putting all those fragments together and also deciding that, but let's just try. And in the very, very early days of a startup, when you have no funding, you have 3 people, 2 co-founders only with me, then you don't do this really extensive research, but you take the leap of faith that I believe that this can work here, this can work on this market. Although it's on the other side of the world, it's culturally very different. But I did believe that the user behavior of people already then trading secondhand in Facebook, in social media, secondhand not being a taboo, which in some countries it still is a taboo or stigma, then it was taking the leap of faith, and that's how we are now. South Africa is our biggest and fastest growing market. It makes 70% of our GMV. And last year we raised a round to expand further into Africa. We have some experience with Kenya. Actually, there are many Kenyans. You can download YAGA app because we are in Kenya. We're not really active at the moment there for different reasons. And now we are prepping for a launch in Egypt, which is again very different market. I probably don't even know how different. And I embrace the unknown of that I probably even don't know what I don't know, but it's going step by step and expanding to those beautiful opportunities.
You make it seem so easy that you just went to South Africa and then started selling, and now you sell even more and more. But what did you actually encounter there? Was it all that such a smooth ride, or were there also some teeny tiny difficulties?
I also tend to remember only the smooth ride. It's been 10 years, just walk in the park, but no, it hasn't. We launched. The previous panel was mentioned relationships and building relationships on the ground a lot, and I think that's very innate and necessary in all the African markets. But our reality was very far from that. We launched from Estonia with 3 Estonians in South Africa without any help on the ground. We somehow, miraculously, got together with a payments partner and also find a delivery partner who could complement and fill the needs that we had. But looking back, probably we would have benefited from having someone on the ground to helping us navigate. And that hasn't been like it wasn't like a really big challenge. We made it, but still, probably we would have benefited. And maybe it's because YAGA is a consumer business for local people on the ground, it's easy for us, but I imagine that when there's a business-to-business relationship or business-to-business product, it's very different from a consumer launch, so it really depends.
Lolo, what do you think? Would have such business by those beginners from Estonia succeeded in Botswana? Should they have started from?
Should I come
from your country?
Should we launch in Botswana?
Will you help her?
You know my answer to that. Okay, my response is twofold. Right, I'm a proponent of investment in Botswana, investment in the people of Botswana. But I would also guard against assuming that what succeeded in a neighboring country with very different context, very different consumer buying habits, very different nuances, dynamics, and reasons to purchase would therefore succeed in Botswana. The proximity would allow you to benefit from regional similarities, but first and foremost, get in touch with the Botswana Investment and Trade Center, understand the market on the ground, the numbers, know your data. That for me is fundamental. Know the data, know how money moves, and really the purchasing, the nature of purchasing, then definitely, by all means, consider Botswana.
Mm-hmm. How often do you get pitches from European startups?
How often do we?
Get pitches from European startups who contact you and say that, look, we would like to explore your market. What are our options? Do you get them from Europe?
Okay, we're speaking of two different elements, right? Earlier on when we started, and I was talking about leadership and mentorship. That's a social enterprise called UNGWA Africa, which I lead, right? I am board chairman for the Botswana Investment and Trade Center, mandated to competitively position Botswana in the world and manage the Botswana brand. Because the European market is important to Botswana, we have an office in London. We have an office in India. We have an office in South Africa. So the London office is the catchment area for the European market. So definitely that's how important it is. Yes.
But coming back to the subject, still standing here, how, in your experience, how entrepreneurial are women compared to men?
Oh, research proves that women are very entrepreneurial.
Are there any differences, any similarities that you can point out of a person who is very entrepreneurial by nature, whether he or she is male or female? How would you classify that?
How would I? Okay, if I understand your question, I don't think it has to be a particular individual, but research indicates that women-led organizations are more profitable. Yes? Yes? Thank you very much. Thank you for that encouragement.
Women clapping.
Just yesterday, I was in a conversation with a gentleman. They were here this morning, and they're in the blue economy. And he confirmed that the one factory that is fully women-run is the most efficient and is the cleanliest. Most efficient, and that is important. So I believe having women in your organization within a leadership position, it's not optics, it's not aesthetics. It's economic intelligence. It's the smart decision.
What's the thing that makes enterprises run by women more profitable? What's the secret? What's your opinion?
Well, wired differently.
How?
Well, wired differently. We're wired differently. We really are. And it's different traits that we should embrace. For me, it's we have different strengths in the different genders, and there's nothing wrong with saying women will be more intuitive. There's a way that women lead. I might not have the language for it, but it is different, and it has proven to be successful.
Aune, can you point out the specific particular skill that you recommend that men should learn from women?
Oh, that's a tough one. A skill that they,
Or you want to keep it secret so that to have this competitive advantage?
the one thing that comes up, actually, I hope I don't trigger anyone, but is to listen more. Because what I've encountered, I have like 50% of my company are female, 50 are men, that women listen more before they jump into action. But men are like, okay, here's the problem, this is the solution, or this is the solution, or this is the solution. So it's like very into action oriented rather than really considering what are the options and maybe feeling. I like you pointed out the intuition part, because it's also like behind, like one of my leadership traits is actually like listening to my intuition and getting in better contact with it. So yeah, listening more before jumping into action would be would be the one. Yes.
When mentoring, other different, well, to Lulu, different aspects you should pay attention to, whether you mentor a man or a woman. Are there any differences in training or mentoring?
In my view, and let me put this disclaimer, I predominantly focus on women and youth in Africa and the diaspora, even though other markets do come in. And now males have hopped on this, said we're not staying behind. And I do this as a boy, as a mom to a boy. And it is important because the data has led us to know the gender parity gap that exists. And somebody's responsibility should be to contribute towards narrowing that. And therefore, the manner in which we are mentoring women, yes, will be different to males, but there are certain universal elements of leadership where it's really the same. And we should not say, because we're dealing with women, therefore women need to be dealt with kid gloves or more sensitive. No, the world is real, the world is tough, and the world requires that we show up to our strengths. That's where knowing your strengths is. That's when knowing what your competitive advantage is. And that's when knowing, for instance, women would ask majority, and this is not to stereotype, but a lot of it would be, how do I ask for a raise? There's a lot of seeking permission. And men are often socialized to know that they can. They just can. And it's important to expose both genders to what can and should be done. And it takes both men and women to close the gender parity gap.
When the world is becoming more and more diverse, then what's the leadership advice that you would give now for the future upcoming leaders, male and female? What are the things that you would suggest doing differently than previous generations?
Is that to me?
No? Well, you can start, and then Aune can
you have
join in.
mentored more.
You have mentored? Aune.
I have been the one who has been mentored.
Okay. I'm going to contextualize it to the African culture. And I'm going to say something in Setswana, and then I'll explain it in my Botswana language. We're taught that mosadi o tshwara thipa ka fa bogaleng, right? Which means which means the woman grabs the sharper side of the knife. telling us that women are taught that in chaos, in crisis, they shield, they're protective. So you grow up knowing that in danger, a woman steps in. But my advice is the mountains we carry are the mountains we ought to be standing on top of. So a lot of what we are carrying as women, we don't need to. The responsibilities, we can put them down. So for women in this room, it's okay to put some heaviness down because you have leading to do. So the advice is create a support structure. You may find yourself in a scenario where you're working far from home, you don't have family around. Actually, family seems to be asking more from you, but your community will carry you. Your community will carry you and uphold you.
Who have been the key people for you? Who have been helping you to lift up the things you put down?
The community?
Yes.
Oh, my community stems from my understanding myself, and the context is important. I can't say a certain person, but I need to start in this way. My posture is based on understanding that I stand tall. I stand tall because of my roots. And what holds me are my covenants, my principles, my non-negotiables. That is number one. My community, family, friends, but also the people you grow with. And it is okay to outgrow friends. It's okay to outgrow circles as you evolve. You're not much better than them, but you are evolving into something different. So community is very, very important. Understanding what you stand for, that will guide you on what you can walk away from. And if you don't know what you can walk away from, you don't know what to sacrifice, you're not ready to lead.
What have you been sacrificing?
You sacrifice sometimes parts of your lifestyle because you need to lead in a particular way, because you need to look after yourself in a particular way, because your vision is long-sighted.
Aune, what about sacrifices?
I was just admiring Lola's answer. So,
no.
so beautiful, so beautifully said.
We'll ask for mentoring later on.
Yes. Sacrifices. When you start the journey of entrepreneurship, if you start a company, for me, YAGA has been like a third baby. So, and I'm a mother. I'm also a mother anyway, but I've sacrificed friendships in a way who haven't understood what does it actually take me to build a company, that it's not just a job. You worry about your company day and night. There are times when you have a few months of runway left and you feel like, what will I do with my 30-something employees if I don't have enough money to pay them? You worry constantly. So the sacrifice, I think, has been, on one hand, I have a beautifully growing company at the moment, but relationships have suffered. And probably also my own mental health has suffered during the period of the last 10 years. There has been ups and downs, moments where I've said my co-founders that I'm done, take it away from me, I don't want to do it anymore. But you can't do it to your child. So I sleep few nights and get back on track and start solving the problems piece by piece. So there definitely are, but it's a really rewarding journey if you become an entrepreneur and you start your own thing. if I would have known in 2017 that it's going to be that challenging, I'm not sure if I would have started. But I'm really happy that I'm here, because the people I've met, the communities I work with, the feedback we get from the users, and especially from South African users, is that it has changed their lives. They have an additional income. It has given them independence, because like coming into like cultural differences a bit about the user behavior, then Estonians rarely chat, or they rarely give feedback. It's just us.
Unless it's
yeah,
unless you're really angry and you want to.
it's the 1 star, then you want to give it. But in South Africa, the feedback comes to us like constantly, basically, that thank you for creating YAGA. I have created a business on top of YAGA, using YAGA. And once I heard from an investor that, Aune, you saved my marriage. My wife has a purpose. She's just running a business. So there's real life stories of how something me and my team have created. They're just so motivating, and all the you forget the sacrifices. Like after giving birth, you forget how painful it was, and you do it again. So that has been my story.
It's good that we reached that point, because at one point I was thinking, okay, now it's going towards sacrifices and lost friendships and kind of grim thing.
No.
But Lolo, when you receive feedback from people who you have been mentoring, is there a story that you can share of somebody really making it, despite maybe being a bit hesitant in the beginning?
Something I didn't say earlier on. Much as we were talking about the difficult side, because you're asking us difficult questions, much as we are talking about really the heavier side of leadership and commitment in the world of business, there's a fun side, there's a liberating side. And the stories we tell, the stories we share, honestly shape the future. And for me, I would start at the genesis of UNGWA Africa and the entire cohort, their stories and where they are right now. I have one mechatronics engineer. She's currently doing her PhD, doing remarkably well. Another really started off just simply being in agriculture, but has evolved into full-blown advocacy in climate action, has trained parliamentarians in the continent on climate action. Another one is a biotechnologist, currently doing extremely well, has really, really advanced. And it's the stories that honestly shape and give meaning to what we do. Because it is not only the statistics, but it is the stories and the lives and the livelihoods. The type of scholarships that we've availed through partnerships with the European Business University, with the Sherry Blair Foundation. It is through those partnerships that we've managed to reach the most remote areas, really being about reaching areas that we would not have had we done this on our own. So for me, it's the ordinary individual in the village whose life has changed because of exposure to mental health workshops and training, and really, really touching the core of what people need. And this might not be cover page, front news, but lives are changed, and we exist for that.
I'm just thinking that maybe somebody from the audience wants to ask something difficult as well, or something
I see a hand there. Ladies, go. Can you give, mic is coming. It's not working?
Knock on the microphone. Yeah, it's working.
Great. That is such a lovely discussion. Hi, my name is Lorraine. I'm the founder of Beyond the Savannah, a company that does remote recruitment for global north companies. So basically talent management. when you're talking about, being a female founder or being a female CEO, you can rarely leave out our personal lives because that's still, we use that in our leadership and also in our businesses. So one question to both of you is, what is that one thing that you wish that you had done differently when you were younger? And that can maybe serve as inspiration to the younger women over here. And, yeah.
Aune,
Sorry,
go first.
difficult
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
I asked you to ask difficult questions, so good.
Yeah.
Let's show them.
I think I can start. The first thing comes to my mind is actually I wish I wouldn't have waited to be ready. I was never ready, but I think as women we postpone the interviews, starting with something, applying to a job, doing something we really care about, by just waiting that I'm not ready enough. I need to train myself first, and I need to get some mentorship first, etc. But rather, my advice would be to starting to any women and also starting entrepreneurs. Just start. You'll never be ready, and the journey will unfold as you go. You can never solve all the problems on paper or answer all the questions on paper before you start. So just start, and I wish I would have started it also like earlier and had more belief that I can do it. Because when you start everything, I really like the saying that where the attention goes, energy flows, and that's definitely true. Yes.
I would have stayed fearless. I would have stayed audacious. As you grow up, you explain certain things. You even explain yourself out of spaces that you ought to be in because you seem to understand context too much, read tones, read between silences, and sometimes that is wisdom, but all in all, I would have stayed fearless and apologize later.
If at all.
If at all.
If at all.
Okay, somebody else? Yeah, another hand here.
Hello, my name is Joy. So I have a question. Usually for younger women or younger ladies who are joining the profession, most of the time when they have bad experiences, it's usually from the older female colleagues. They're the ones who, I think there's a statistics that most women don't feel comfortable working with older women because at times they feel that some way the older women feel, they feel, I don't want to say threatened, but they somehow feel something about the younger women. Especially, that was one of my experiences when I was an intern some few years ago. So I would like to know from your experience, like what do you do differently as leaders to empower like younger women, to mentor them to grow without this fear, like I don't want to work for a woman boss, or I don't want to work with women. I'd rather work with a man than a woman.
So, what to do not to be the evil stepmother of the Snow White? Like, actually, this is a story about the same thing, that older woman looking at the mirror and seeing.
I have to ask my employees, do they see me as an evil stepmother? But actually, to your point, it just remembered me my experience with female investors. Like over the years, I have spoken with hundreds of potential YAGA investors, and the toughest calls or meetings I've had with investors who happen to be women. And it has been like surprising that we don't support ourselves, like women don't support women enough. And it was definitely a surprise for me in the early days. And I do resonate that sometimes it's easier to work with a man. But I'm thinking about the advice.
Do you feel like you have to refrain the evil stepmother in you sometimes?
No, I don't see myself as an evil stepmother. I think it's about in the organization what you build. It's all about building the culture, and it's important that the values match with the person you hire, whether it's a woman or a female, or sorry, woman or a man. Yeah, it's a tough question. Lolo, help.
In the workplace, you will find good people, you will find tyrants. What is important is also to understand yourself, know what triggers you, do the inner work, because you don't go in there and expect everybody to like you, everybody to want what's best for you. That is why really having, I don't want to say, because you can't start work already with a support structure, but you need to go in there knowing yourself, right? Such that you know when you go out of character. You know when you turn into the very thing or the very monster you said you'd never turn into, because it does happen. And that is work that is not always easy, right? Sometimes if you suppress whatever is happening in the workplace, it will spill over when you enter your home. And there will be casualties in your household. So it is important that you see yourself as important infrastructure, worthy of investing in, worthy of care, worthy of compassion, but also worthy of calling yourself out. Because if you walk around and you are ready to blame everybody else, you will have a list every day of who to blame. They didn't look at you right, that tone was wrong. Especially as you expand, as you go higher in the corporate ladder, working within different cultures. If you have not put in the work to understand what one person means when they copy all innocently, compared to if somebody reprimands you in public, there will be somebody to blame at every given corner, and you will be nothing but a victim. So knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing what to call out, knowing that there's such a thing as narcissism in the workplace, but you will survive it. And you decide, it's a decision. Sometimes it's not about how you feel, it's about what you decide, because work has to continue. That's why you don't just keep going. Some people are like, just keep going, it's just work. No, it bruises you, it chips at you, it chips at your soul, and you are nothing but a successful empty vessel. And the world does not deserve that. You're great, you're impactful, and you matter. So invest in yourself.
So
Nice.
well, I see that the next panel is already on the screen in front of us, so I think that's a hint. But thank you. I understand the message is quite strong. Just toughen up and start walking this path, and you will get rich.
And don't apologize.
And don't apologize,
Thank you.
unless necessary. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
you.
much,
Thank you so much.
Evelyn and the panel. Please give them a big round of applause.